Hey, everybody, and welcome to Mic Drop Monday with Dr. Elisa LaShell Harney. I am so excited. I want you guys to come on in live. I want you guys to come on in and make sure that you're sharing because it's about to be off the chain tonight, and I don't want y'all to miss what we have going on tonight. So, everybody, come on in. Start hitting that share button. Start letting everybody know I need to share it. Start letting everybody know that we are live and we are excited about what's going on. Make sure everybody that's here, make sure that you can hear, make sure that you can see, because you're not going to want to miss it. So here's what I'm going to do before I just get too excited, because I will. I'm going to start sharing as well. And thank you guys for joining. Make sure you tell us hello. Make sure you let us know where you're watching from, and make sure that you comment. Make sure that you literally are engaging with us because I'm just too excited about everything. So I'm gonna get excited. And before I get too excited, I'm sharing. You guys share as well. If you have a group that you know that might really benefit, don't do me a favor and let everybody know to join us live now. So that's what I am telling everybody to do, is to join us live. We're going to get in on this discussion. I don't want you guys to miss a thing. So go ahead and start tagging your people. Go ahead and start sharing. Go ahead and start getting everybody. Thank you all that are sharing. I really appreciate. I see a lot of you guys coming on and sharing. So make sure you keep sharing because, again, you are not going to want to miss this fire that we are bringing tonight. You're going to want your people to be on. If you have some private groups that you know that really would like to get in on this conversation, get them in. Now listen, tonight is for the guys and the ladies and the gentlemen. So listen, fellas, I need the fellas. I need y'all on. If you know, like, let me get my boo, let me get my bestie, let me get my friend, let me get them on here, because this conversation tonight, I think, is really going to be so enlightening. I think it's really going to give us some perspective. I think it's really going to open some dialogue and show us some things that perhaps we really didn't see, really didn't understand at the beginning. I see you guys that are tagging your people and sharing, and I am so appreciative to all of you guys. Good evening. It is Mic Drop Monday with Dr. Elisa LaShell Harney. So y'all know that Mic Drop Monday is about help, is about hope, is about healing. But you also know that I built Mic Drop Monday on the principle that you can't fix what you won't face. And so there are some conversations that need to be had. And it's funny that a lot of these conversations, we're for some reason not really able to have them in certain arenas, but they are important because certain things affect us in every area of our lives. And when we start talking about influence and we start talking about authority, what we're really opening up is a dialogue about conversations in relationships, our relationships to the men in our lives and the men in our lives, how they relate to us. And I really want us to see something new here tonight. I really want us to really understand that there's a dynamic that we really don't really get involved in or really don't have a conversation about. So I am telling you, if you know some men, because we really want to make sure that we have perspective tonight. If you know some men that really would really benefit from adding some value, get them on and get them in the comments because we really want to open this dialogue. This is what I'm calling a special edition Mic Drop Monday. So if you know of some men that I'm telling you that really would appreciate this dialogue between men and women and really expanding our arena in the area of perception, how we perceive each other, how we engage with each other, how we have this dialogue. So get them all in. Thank you guys for coming on and sharing. I am so excited. And let me say this before I bring on my guest live on this screen. You guys know that Mic Drop Monday is very interactive. So here's a couple of things about Mic Drop Monday. If we say some things and you're like, you know what, man, that was a mic drop. That really resonated with my spirit. Do me a favor and hit those microphone emojis or type in the words mic drop. Let me know that we are up here dropping the mic. Secondly, we just got to tell the truth on Mic Drop Monday. I tell you all the time that truth plus transparency equals transformation. So if we put some things out there and you saying, you know what, I see me, go ahead and type that in the comments. And then last but not least, we're going to say some things, and some of those things you're going to want to type in the comments as a mic drop. Here's what's going to be powerful tonight is this is just not about relationships with you and a man, or you and your boo, or you and your future husband. This is also about our relationships with the men in our lives, our dads, our sons, our brothers, our pastors, our leaders. This is really going to be about the dynamics of how influence affects authority. And I really want us to open some perspective. I really want us to really get into this dialogue. So thank y'all that are coming in. Thank you guys for sharing. I believe tonight is going to be amazing. Thank you guys that are watching. All right. So I'm going to bring up my friend, and he's amazing in his own right, Pastor Antwain Jackson. Let me get him on this screen and let me get him in this conversation, because it's about to go to the next level. How are you, my friend?
Yo, how you doing?
I am so excited to have you on. I know we've been talking about this for a while, but like the timing is like, here it is, right?
Y'all better get ready. Maybe get ready. Look, in the famous words of somebody we all know, it says, "Get ready, get ready, get ready,
get ready." Because this thing is about to be. I don't even know what to tell y'all about tonight, except, it's about to be. So you introduce yourself. This is my friend. I'm just so grateful to have you here. So tell the people, because I know a lot of my people don't know you, and you might have some of your people on. So go ahead and talk to us. Give us a real quick introduction. Tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself. What do we need to know?
Well, hey, everybody. Again, my name is Bishop Antwain Jackson. I'm the pastor of the Equation Church in St. Louis, Missouri. And also, my book is dropping next month called The Creative Leader. Wow. So I'm super excited about that. I've been in ministry for so long, but I feel like God has really given me this great perspective to be able to be a bridge between generations. And I would have to say that one of the hallmarks of my life is that of a conversationalist. I believe that as believers, we should be able to have tough conversations that are centered around truth. I don't believe that we should run from anything. I think we should run toward really giving clarity. So that's what I do. If you want to know more about me, antwainjackson.org. I'm just excited. Thank you so much, Dr. LaShell, for this opportunity to be on your platform tonight.
Listen, I could not think of anybody else for this particular conversation. One of the things I tell people about Mic Drop Monday is I am really in tune with having people on that I really can relate to, that have proven themselves to be authentic, that have a different perspective about what's going on. We have to be those people that we demonstrate what we want to see demonstrated. We have to be the first people that say, let me show you how we work together. Let me show you how we put each other on. Let me show you how we add value. So again, tonight, we are getting ready to jump right in. So I thank you guys for joining. Make sure you share, because this is special edition. If you start hearing the conversation and think of somebody, get them on. Listen, don't be stingy. Get the people. Yes. Thank you guys that are sharing and coming on, because again, I think tonight is going to be absolutely amazing. So I want to start with why, and we've had this conversation, but I wanted to share it, open it up to the people, why I decided to do this particular thing she told me to, and why I wanted to have the conversation about influence and authority. A couple of weeks ago, about a month or so ago, I was in Wilmington, and I was there on ministry assignment, and I got in, and all of a sudden in the middle of altar ministry, the Lord had me to send for the men, just literally open up and say, hey, if there are any men that are in the building, unsolicited, if you feel like you're wounded, can you meet me at the altar? And I saw literally, and the people that were there, they witnessed it, men of all ages, of different nationalities, different races. They were coming and they were at the altar, and I had no idea what was going to happen when they got there. So when they're at the altar, and I'm looking over these men, and all of a sudden, there's dozens and dozens of them, the Lord has me to apologize. And I was like, wait, what? And he says, apologize. And so because I have to be so obedient and quick, I started apologizing without having a clue exactly what I was going to be apologizing for. And I start apologizing. And the video, like I said, I've been posting it. I start apologizing to the men on behalf of us women. And I just start saying, forgive us for the times that we've seen you as glorified ATMs. Forgive us for forgetting that you have needs too. Forgive us for forgetting that some of you didn't have the right father figure or a father figure in your life, where you were able to know how to demonstrate what a father, what a man was. Forgive us for overlooking you. Forgive us for putting unfair demands. And I just started weeping over these men. And every time I would touch one, God would just show me the wounds of their soul. And I looked around and men are weeping. I literally mean they're weeping. And look, it looks like the more they wept, the more I started weeping. And so it's already a vulnerable moment for me. I can imagine for them. But then the Lord says, post that video. And I was like, first of all, I'm wailing and crying and carrying on. And he was like, no, post it. And so I was like, I'll post it on Facebook. He was like, no, LinkedIn, Instagram, everybody gets it. And one of the things, and I shared this with you, some of the feedback that I got from men, I mean, the chief operating officers of prominent cities and different men were saying that was like the balm of Gilead. If I never knew what it was. Yes. Some men told me, one man said, women sometimes think that our silence, they don't understand that our silence is an emotion, and you just spoke to an emotion by saying something, by having a conversation, by just unsolicited, just saying, here is an admission of guilt, and you didn't even know us. And so men responded in such a powerful way that I was like, whoa. And I remember sharing with you. Yeah. Can you talk to me about why do you think it was so impactful for men to hear that apology and to respond so strongly to that?
Yes. Well, firstly, I want to say thank you.
Oh, wow.
That's important to us. And, you know, I don't think many people understand that it is difficult because this narrative that men are emotionless, that we don't struggle, that we don't desire affirmation. And this narrative that men are nothing but predators, hoes, insufficient, don't raise their kids, don't love their families, that this constant pressure that a man isn't responsible with his life. So to hear a woman actually address it and affirm us and apologize to us, it really opens a dialogue for this conversation tonight. Because, nobody's saying we have angel wings on our back. We are aware that we have difficulties and things that we do need to deal with. But I believe that the narrative has been so pervasive that many men just don't even try to fight anymore.
Wow.
And honestly, some of the silence is from the standpoint that it feels like it pushes you into being defensive. Because it's like, really, all I'm trying to do is share that maybe that's not me. Maybe that's not the reason why I did what I did. Maybe there is a difference between wickedness and weakness. But because you're only looking at my behavior, you don't know my heart. And so I haven't been able to really share what's in my heart because I feel like anything that I say is in defense of the narrative. So I think that's why it was so impactful for you to just simply apologize, because it opened us to like, oh, there's a woman that actually is open to hearing that the narrative that's out there may not be the truth. Like this is impactful.
Wow. And it's so funny because, I think the other part about it is because I was disconnected from whatever the issue was, I was able to not need anything back. I don't want anything back, but to say, I'm sorry. And then, for the Lord to really say, go through a list of things that you're sorry for. And whether I have been, I've been responsible for doing it myself, or whether it was just because I sensed it from the men, being able to just say, listen, let me just, and it was so funny because after it happened, I prayed that the winds of reconciliation rushed through the building, and women who were married start coming to the altar with the men, because it was like, you know what, and what I said in the video, I remember saying, men, it's not that the women didn't want to apologize, but some of them can't even hear hear through the scars of their soul. So they can't even hear what you need because they can't hear through the sounds of the scars of their soul. And so
Wow.
let me articulate something that sometimes women have a hard time saying. I'm so wounded, and I still have things that I'm waiting for apologies, and I'm still defensive about this. That it's not that I wouldn't want to apologize. It's sometimes because what it takes for me to get through to the apology is so long. And like you said, by that time, it's just like, you know what, never mind. And so
Yeah.
it was just such a big deal for this to happen. And I think it made me say, you know what? Because men responded to this, I want to have the dialogue between the influence and the authority. So before we get, because we know that our people, we perish for a lack of knowledge. And y'all, if you guys are just coming on, I see you guys steadily coming on, share. This might be one of the most important conversations that you will be a part of, kicking this year off. And listen, do me a friend. AJ, talk to us about, you said this before, why is it important that we have a united front and cohesiveness in this narrative for this age? Because usually it's kind of one of those devil advocates. You got a side, I got a side, but we're coming as a united front to talk about this. Why is that so important for this moment?
This is important because we have to realize that we're people, we're humans, and we both have value, right? And I think that sometimes because of this relationship gospel, right, or this marriage worship, we're oftentimes worshiping the institutions, and we're forgetting that as people, that's part of it. It's a man, it's a woman, it's two people that have been created and fashioned in the image of God. And I don't think we can take lightly on that, because I think for some odd reason, when we start to see a person's humanity, we forget where they actually came from. You know, like, so when we start to see, you know, somebody really trying to develop themselves, understand the reality of the purpose of their lives, and then we end up in a relationship with them, sometimes we diminish the respect and the value that we have for the people that we're dealing with. And so I think that this conversation is important. And I want to say this as a man, that anything that I will say to you as women is out of respect. It is out of honesty. It's out of basically saying, yo, these are some things that maybe your husband, your father, your brother, your uncle may have always wanted to say, but didn't say. So I appreciate you allowing me to even be brave, because it's not that I'm being an apologist, quote unquote, for men. I'm trying to be an apologist for the truth. And I think that if we're able to have these conversations, it's going to really broaden our ability to do relationships well.
And it's so important. You said something, we were talking before, and you said because men need a place to lay their head, and you meant their thoughts, their emotions, what they're dealing with. And I said, you know what, Mic Drop Monday, I created this to be a safe place where we can have a conversation, not have to get defensive, not have to get in our feelings, not have to feel like somebody on one of these sides has to be right and then somebody else has to be wrong. No, we're opening the dialogue, because I think what happens is, you know, and gets us into what this is about, because men carry authority. And again, ladies, you know, we know the word. I'm not saying we don't have authority. I'm talking about what we're really dealing with tonight. And y'all keep sharing. Thank you guys for coming on. But I'm telling you, share this with your friends, share this with your family. This is really going to impact your relationship with dads and with brothers and with sons. Hear me, with sons, with husbands and wives, fiancés, future fiancé. Y'all get them in, because it's going to be powerful. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was, you know, create this narrative where it's a safe place, where we don't have to be defensive, where we can have this conversation, where we can give a biblical perspective on it, but then have a real thoughtful a conversation about it. And again, without trying to say somebody has to be wrong and somebody has to be right. So I want to, let's deal for a moment with authority and influence. Not saying we don't have authority, but I want to speak about it from the fact that we understood that when men came, when men were created, they were given this authority. And we also understand that at the end of the day, women have influence. And we're going to work through a couple of narratives in the Bible, because I want to show, whether it's negative or positive, how influence impacts authority. And so real quick, tell me how you see when you say authority and impact and influence. Tell me kind of what you feel when you say that, because we're literally getting ready to walk this conversation and show the relationship. Why do you think it's important to show that relationship between the authority and the influence?
I think it's important because we have to realize that, number one, we were given dominion, right? So that means we were given sovereign rule to make decisions, right? And what I think a lot of us are missing is the institution of marriage, right? If we're talking through this concept, and we'll work our way back down. But in this institution, there is a way and a function by which God has called for us to operate in. The authority just simply means to make the right decision, right? The reason why you have somebody in authority is so that they're making decisions that are within concert of values and ideals that have been agreed upon in a relationship. But if you have the wrong person influencing that through either negativity or self-serving, you know, if somebody wants their way and is not really focused on the mission or the goal of the relationship, then what happens is you'll find that there's tension. This is why I teach submission the way I do, because we're oftentimes looking at submission as if it's to a person when really it's to a mission, sub, below, mission, right? So oftentimes we're not really understanding that when we're coming together in relationships, we are to accomplish something. But I think because we were never taught that we needed to have mission, we're just looking for there to be absolute agreement on emotional feelings and all that stuff. And it's like, it's unsubjective. We can't take the relationship anywhere because we don't have agreement. And so that's why I think it's important why authority and influence is understood in the concept of the relationship, because it really works together.
It does, because I bring myself under the authority of the mission that we're trying to accomplish. And I don't think we really understand that that's power under subjection. I bring myself under authority. So submission is such a powerful word. It's because it's saying I could move forward. I could do this, but there's a common goal. I bring myself under authority. And so I want to create a different narrative. And I believe that if we have this dialogue, it's really going to help us open this up. So we understand that there are extremes. We understand that influence and authority shows up as a common theme all throughout scripture. And I want to throw in a couple of different ones, because I think we need to see that this dynamic is not just with men and their husbands or mates. It's with their sons. And I want to talk about what happens when she told me to, when there is a man in authority and a woman told him to do something. He relented to, he said, you know what? I'm going to put myself under the authority of your influence. So we get ready to jump into this. So let's begin. Of course, let's begin at the beginning. Let's trace the tree. And again, we're going to run through these because we got to shift and dealing with this in the relationship. So we look at Adam and Eve. We understand Adam had the authority, but Eve had influence. And so even though Adam had the directive, when Eve decided to do something else, her first mission, she said, now I am going to influence the man with the authority. And then he put himself under submission to her influence. And we see what the result is. Why do you think in that place he was subjected to her influence and not his authority? Because his authority came straight from the man. So why was it though? Because I think women don't understand how much influence we have. That man heard from God. It wasn't an in-between. It wasn't a moral. He heard from God. God gave him a directive. He had the authority, but influence said, no, I'll do this.
You know, there's a narrative out there that say that men don't love their wives. First of all, now think about this. It showed how much he loved her to disobey God.
Took Boo. He said, listen, I'm just going to go with Boo.
I'm just going to go with her. All right. This is what she said. So you see that that's very powerful. Of course, this could be a stretch on it, but they weren't clothed. So could her physicality have some impact on his ability to make decisions, or whether he don't get any if he
Mm.
goes against her decision?
What are the repercussions?
What are the
So
repercussions?
here again,
Uh-huh.
impact. So authority can be impacted by the repercussions of the influence. So let's keep walking this thing down.
Yes.
Let's switch the narrative for a moment. Let's think about Jacob and Esau, because here were two brothers, and this one brother was already promised authority.
Yes.
But here is the woman, here is their mom. Rebecca comes in and says, I know what God promised and all of that, that's fine. But let me assert my influence to my son. And mothers, we have to be mindful that we can insert our influence over the men, the young men, as they become men, and we can create a narrative for them that they in turn repeat in cycles. One of the things at that same church that I was ministering to the men, I was ministering to a couple, and I was saying to this man that I was saying to his wife, I said, he can't say this. And I put my hand on him, and I operate strongly in the prophetic. And I said, the reason why he's so laid back and you think he's weak and you think it's not that. He had a dominating mom who spoke really hard, and he wanted to please her. And so what he did was he fell subject to her influence. And so what he did was submitted his authority under her influence. And so every time you become domineering, but I need you to understand that you're cultivating something in him that's dysfunction, and it's hurting, and he does not know how to articulate it. And that man almost fell into a faint. It just the relief of being able to articulate something. And his wife had no idea, and she fell into a faint. Just the reconciliation that came with exposing that. And so I think sometimes we don't even understand that we have this influence over our sons, these boys that we're raising to the detriment or to taking them into destiny. And we're creating this thing that's going to repeat itself. Either they're going to be very oppositional to us, or either they're going to be very intrigued with us. And so sometimes we're not mindful of the influence and how it cannot change their authority then, but it can even shift their authority later. So speak to that for a moment as a son.
Sometimes I don't think we really look at the impact of trauma, right? And how we carry those mentalities and mindsets into next generations. I think that as mothers, I did this message one day called Mother Help Your Son. And it was in relationship. And I was basically talking about what mothers give their sons is that of affirmation. So we actually were taught that it was the dad that would give the affirmation to the son. Is actually not the case. It is the mom that speaks that affirmation into the life of the son. And so that's why the mom had that much power. And okay, well, choose him over him, because mom is acquainted, right, with what she has, what she gave birth to. Yes. But if you don't survey mom's trauma, if you don't survey mom's trauma in relationship, if you don't survey mom's divorce, if you don't survey mom's lack of having a dad, if you don't survey those things, they will translate that into the life of the son.
Yes, they will.
So sometimes some of the missing dynamics that we're having with men is not always because they're lacking fathers. It's not always because they're lacking a dad. Sometimes the mom set in the son some dysfunctions because the mom lacked the father presence, so she wasn't able to inspire and affirm her son because she didn't have that from hers.
And it's so funny you said it, because again, at the same thing that really prompted me to have this conversation, I said, the winds of reconciliation are coming. I need sons to bring your moms if you know that you need reconciliation. And grown sons brought their moms. And I had to put my hands on the mothers and look at the daughters and the sons and say, let me tell you mama's story, because she couldn't tell you. And this is why you were left unattended and something happened to you, because she was left unattended and something happened to her. And so without even knowing it, recreating this same dialogue and we don't understand. That's why I said it's so important to understand that our influence has impact and has an effect on authority. Let's take it to the next level. And I'm telling you, when the Spirit really started giving me this, he said, I heard the Lord say, well, what about Jesus? And I was like, hold on, what about Jesus? Like, those were fighting words. And he said, his mama had influence over his authority. I said, wait
Yes.
a minute, take me
Yes.
to the word. And we're so busy getting caught up in the miracle of the water into the wine
Right.
that we missed it. The Lord
We
said to
missed
me,
it.
baby, you missed the whole narrative. I was showing you that my mama had influence over my authority. Jesus went back to the word, and I'm looking, they're at this party. They didn't go to Jesus. They came to Mary and said,
Come
we
on.
have ran out of wine. And
Come on.
she looked at her son and said, hey, they ran out of wine. He looked at her and said, woman, why are you troubling me? It's not my time. This is not what I'm supposed. He was
Right.
asserting his authority. He was
Yes.
saying, he was trying to say, no, that's not
Right.
what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But watch this. Her influence, she didn't even respond to him. Oh, listen, Mama Bear said, whatever he tell y'all to do it. And she
Do
checked
it.
out. And guess what he did? He did it. He wasn't doing that. That's the one time. That was the one time in the Bible that God didn't say, you need to perform this miracle. His mama said, you do
Yes.
this. This is what I need to do and get it done. Let's go. And I think
Yes.
sometimes we don't even realize Jesus was subjected to the influence of his mom, who really shifted. He said, it's not even my time. I'm not even supposed to do. And she said, hey, handle this, and walked
Yes.
off.
Yes. It's there. You know, like I think that one of the things that we're going to have to deal with is misdefinition, right? I think the spirit, the spirit of religion. Now, hear me. The spirit of religion, I think, masters in misdefinition, and I think it misinterprets scripture. So oftentimes we're not really able to truly see what the scripture is trying to speak to. So Jesus is now honoring what his mom.
Absolutely.
What his mom says, and he did not have to do that. But
Exactly.
he did not have to do that.
This is the point we are trying to
That's
make.
right.
He had
didn't have to do
authority.
it. He had
did not
authority,
have to
and
do it.
he used it. He used it on a personal preference.
Yes. If the people could get what we are saying, what you just said was, I had the authority.
Right.
I submitted that because I chose to honor you.
Yes, that's right.
And I think this is the exact narrative that we're trying to share with people. He honored her by saying, I am going to submit to your influence, not because I don't have to, but because I choose to. And that's a difference between, she didn't come at him and say, you need to do this. She came at him and said, the wine ran out.
Yep.
She just said the wine ran out. Not, hey, I need you, go in there, handle that, and don't give me no lip. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And so you said this about the approach, the tone, the timing, you know, that too.
And even the fact that he honored her personal preference, because that to me is something that is significant, because I'm glad that the scripture doesn't show that she kept doing that. Because I think if the scripture would have shown that she kept doing that, then I think this would be a totally different conversation.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, if you're expecting for me to use my authority for something that really doesn't benefit the mission, it helps you, then that can be very self-serving.
That's good.
That can be very self-serving. So I appreciate Jesus for honoring his mom, but I think it shows us the principle. Don't abuse using somebody's authority for your personal preference either.
Absolutely.
And that's why a lot of men are silent. That's why a lot of men are silent, is because it's like, so you want to use my money, you want to do all of that stuff for your personal preference, but it's not really good enough when it comes down to having real things that need to be done and talked about.
And then when we look in the Bible, we see places where it was abused. We see the Samson and Delilah. You know, we see where she created a facade of safety. We see where she said, what I will do is I will allow you to feel like this is a safe place. Like you said, not just to lay your head, but to lay your thoughts and to lay your secrets and to plant your secrets. One of the things I always tell women, we have to be mindful, and I teach this in my mentorship, relationship. And I always say it's tone, it's timing, it's tact. We have to understand that it's a lot of the things that have everything to do with how we get something done. And so sometimes though, men, like you said, are going to be leery because she created this ambiance of safety for him because she wanted his secrets. And so women, you can't create an ambiance of safety for secrets because it's a trade-off. I'm giving you something because I want something back in return. And so now Samson, how did they know that? Because she told me if I told my secrets, they were going to be safe. She told me to.
That's right. That's right. Like, I'm so glad we're having this conversation because the truth is men want a place to lay their head. Mm-hmm. They want a place of safety, right? Mm-hmm. They want to be able to dig very deep and to be able to have those conversations about their emotional health, about their physical health, mm-hmm. about things they're struggling with, the pressures that they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for a woman to be able to feel safe with. Men want to be protected. Here's my point. Everything that a woman wants, a man does too.
Come on, sir.
But we have been taught that men only want respect and women want love. No, I want love too. What you talking about? I just want respect. No, love me. So I think we have devalued people for what we want in the institutions. We've devalued the people as if I was made in the image and the likeness of God.
Come on.
Because I'm married to you. Like, I'm made in the image and the likeness of God as well. And I want the same thing you want.
So you are shifting us into part 2.
I'm sorry.
No, this good. So somebody need to type shift. Is this helping you guys? Because if it is, make sure that you're putting it in the comments. Guys, keep sharing because now we're about to get to the next level, man. This thing is about to go because what we wanted to do, we wanted to show you biblically. We wanted to make sure that we showed you that this whole idea of how influence affects authority or impacts authority is biblical. It's been going on for a while. Thank you guys that are affirming this. Let's shift into something. And we had this conversation and I'm so excited to show a different side of this now because one of the things that we got to stop doing is we can't make everything about the cross. We love the Lord. He heard our cry. But you know what? Let's get on into the meat of the matter because at the end of the day, like you said, we're having conversations and interactions with men and with women, and we need to have this conversation here. And we need to be, one thing I am is real, raw, and relevant. That's just what I have. So we're shifting. Thank y'all for writing it down. We're going to shift a little bit. So there's a movie out. We both separately. So, you went to see it and I found out he went to see it and I was like, we went to see it too. Yeah. So we saw this movie that's out that is called The Photograph, right? So for those of you guys that don't care, it's going to really be relevant to what we're going to talk about. But the whole point of the movie, and y'all share, because it's about to get real good real fast, right? So this movie is The Photograph. And what they were saying was that this is going to be one of the movies where there's an absence of drama. There is an absence of all of these theatrics that are usually put in to make a movie feel like me. It's just going to show another dynamic of relationship. It's going to, and I watched it and saw how influence affected authority, and some things came up that we're really going to have a conversation about. So just to give you guys an overview, it's simply about a man who saw a woman and they decided they like each other and they decided to get to know each other. And while she was getting to know them, while they were getting to know each other, she was really coming to grips with her mom's death. And at the same time, he was researching her mom's life. And so it put them in a narrative where they had to interact with each other and just decided, wait a minute, we like each other. We need to get to know each other. And how do we deal with some of the things that might come up? So let's deal with a couple of things. And we both, it's so funny when we were talking about the movie, we both realized that some of the same moments that made us go, phew, were big. Wow. So let's have a conversation about it. So guys, you know about the movie, but we want to talk about this because it's really going to help you guys see some things. One of the things in the movie was a place where, and I said this to you, and this is about, and I have to speak on behalf of women, and I'm glad we're having this conversation so you can speak to this. one of the reasons women can get a bad rap sometimes. We're told that we are, unfeeling, unsympathetic, that, we can ice over, we can shut down, we can do this. But one of the things in the movie that happened that was so powerful was that here is this man that she knew in her heart she fell in love with, and she just couldn't admit it, but he got a job opportunity to move to London, a whole different country. And she was telling her girlfriend, and he left, and she's telling her girlfriend like he's gone, and her girlfriend said, well, why didn't you tell the man how you felt? Why didn't you say, I want you to stay? And she looked at her girlfriend and she basically said, because in other words, I didn't want my emotions, my influence to impact his authority. He made a decision for his life and he decided to move. And had I told him how I felt, it might have impacted his authority. I didn't want it to be, she told me to stay. And then, so what happens for women sometimes is we can feel a way and we can want to say certain things, but then we're thinking about, yeah, but if you do it because she told me to, and that thing don't work out, whether it's a decision about moving, about bills, about, whatever, raising a child, and she told me to, and it doesn't work out. Now we got to feel some kind of way, because now we feel like you can look at us and blame us for things that don't happen the correct way, or, well, this wouldn't have happened if you didn't tell me to. I stayed because she told me to. So now we're running into something else. So let's talk about that part, because that's a challenge for women, is really being vulnerable and making these suggestions, and then these men doing it because they're honoring our influence, or because they're saying, you know what, we're gonna try, and then it goes left, and now all of a sudden it's like, you told me to do it. That's why I could have been, because what happened, I could have been further along in life if you hadn't said that, or I could have been this by now. And so talk about that whole dynamic.
Look, I think that's why agreement is powerful.
Yes.
I think when when I saw that part, I was like, yo, I can see how she felt. But I want you to know, I'll talk to you like I'll talk to the women. That your honesty is something that I do want. I think that we have to continue to see that this narrative out there that men don't love their women, I think is continually being disproved. Because if you can make a man change his mind, then he must have some sense of being all in with you, right? So if you can make him change his mind, direction about a job, where to live, all of that, then that must mean that there's something significant there. I appreciate the fact that they were able to build on that.
Yes.
Right? Like, so that it wasn't about this drama that needed to be there to force something to happen, or to be able to say, well, because we had this falling out, now you go make your decision, now you go that way.
Yes.
Like, I appreciated the maturity.
Yes.
And I think that if y'all want my honest opinion, one of the reasons why it's difficult for men to communicate to women how they feel is because sometimes you're hit with where that woman's maturity gap is.
Come on, sir.
If she has been hurt before in a past relationship, oftentimes I feel like we're getting the heat for what happened previously, or we're getting heat for a lack of a father or whatever like that. And so I appreciated the fact that she was vulnerable and she was mature.
Yes.
So even in the difficulty, they were still able to really have the conversation because those two elements was there.
And you know what? And we talked about this, and I think it's so powerful, because I think women and men need to see women and men having a conversation and not pitting it, but being in agreement. Another powerful point in that movie we talked about was when he made the decision to move, knowing how he felt about her. And he just got the news that, all right, we approve you, you can move. And she called him, and he looked at her phone and he saw her calling, and he couldn't answer. And he didn't answer because at that time he was like, I just don't know how to say, I told you I feel a certain kind of way, but I'm doing something that could appear contrary. And then when they finally saw each other again, she didn't come to the door like, oh, you talking now? I called you and you didn't answer your phone. She opened the door and said, hey. And he was like, I didn't know you were here. She was like, well, I tried to call you. It wasn't, I tried it. She was like, oh, I tried to call you, and you didn't answer. And then it put him in a place to say, wait a minute. She disarmed him with her maturity, with her tone, with her timing, with her tact. And where it would have in regular movies that think they need to sensationalize everything, there was not drama. It wasn't if I would have called you, it was just like, no. And he said to her, and he was vulnerable. He said, well, what could I have said? And she was like, well, you could have just said, hey, you could have. And it was like, it was the whole issue. It was like, wow, it was diffused right there.
Yep. Like I understand that for entertainment value, they add drama, right? And I've heard a lot of people say that the movie was dry or whatever. And you can have your personal preference on it, whatever.
Right.
But I think it does show a narrative that when you're dealing with two mature people, you can handle difficulty and it not be drama.
And it not be drama, sir.
Like that's, I mean, for me, that's what I want. Like, but I feel like so many people have not processed through their personal trauma. Like she could have said, look, I'm going through this stuff. I'm losing my mom. Like all of a sudden I got a letter and I got to go I'm meeting my dad. Like there could have been a lot of ways where she could have responded out of just the emotion she was personally having.
Yes.
But she chose to be in that moment. She chose to be open to that conversation and not shooting. And I'm like, man, that was so beautiful to see. And that's the longing in the heart for two mature people to say, let's attack the problem. Let's not attack each other.
So, and which brings me to something else we said, and I'm glad the Holy Spirit brought it back, because one of the things we talked about was the chase. And that we get so caught up in, and can I just say, women, if we could just tell the truth, and again, some of these are not things that I do, but I'm on the platform and I'm speaking on behalf of women because I want to have the dialogue about the extremes. Sometimes we can get so caught up in wanting to be chased, and it's like, listen, you gotta chase me for my attention, you gotta chase me for my love, but then when I get an attitude, you gotta chase me to find out what's wrong with me, you gotta chase me to find out how to fix it. And it's like, do we ever stop and say, man, did your feet hurt? Are you out of breath? Because
you see how I went to sleep? I was like, I had to chase you to date you. You're like, good God Almighty. Like, and please understand this. I say this with all sincerity and all love. Listen, when the Bible says, he that finds a wife and finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord, that was written in a book of wisdom, that is not doctrine. Like, good God Almighty. It does not, you don't have to make yourself difficult to talk to. You don't have to make yourself hard to get to know.
Come on,
you
sir.
Don't have to do that stuff. Like, that's wisdom. And so and I'm going to say this, oftentimes because women have been taught that perspective in relationships.
Yes.
A man pursues them and chases them and gets them and wins their heart. But the woman never won his heart.
Come on, sir.
Because we were never, ever taught that relationships were mutual.
Yes.
So he's tired. So he's done everything to win your heart. He's got you, but then you never won his. And you wonder why his attention when there is difficulty.
That's good. But here it is. Hold on. So here it is. This is the dialogue we love. Because sometimes we think that because we won your desire and because we won your attention, we automatically won your heart.
You didn't. No.
Because that's what's taught.
Yeah, you didn't. Because my soul is my mind, my will, and my emotions.
Uh-huh.
And if women have not been equipped on how to actually win a man in his soul, right? So I've had to do all of that to win you, but you haven't been taught the dynamics on how to win my soul.
Come on, sir.
Through love and compassion, allowing me to be able to share my vulnerabilities, me not having to act like a superhero. Like, Jesus is your savior. I am not. So I can't save.
Absolutely.
I can't be your pastor, your husband, the tire fixer, the bill payer. I mean, like, Lord, I need a space in my life as well for there to be ministry and service to my life. So
Absolutely.
it shows that the relationship would have to have some level of mutuality,
Yes.
and you'll have to be okay with the man not being perfect, right? Or maybe not even having everything that you feel like he may need, because you may have that part.
Yes,
But
that
it does
part.
not mean you may have that part, but it does not mean that he doesn't deserve investment and that he doesn't deserve his heart being won into the relationship as well.
And you know what? That leads me into something else you and I've talked about as well. When it's about this whole role of reciprocity, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the things that we're doing it because it was passed down as wisdom. It was passed
Yes.
down. And so one of the things I remember saying to you earlier was that women are taught sometimes from their mothers or from older women, well, baby, here's how you got to do it. Okay. You got it, because you can't let your left hand know what your right hand doing. So this is what you need to
Oh
do.
my God.
What you need to do
Yes.
is you have the idea, make him think it's his idea, and then when he says it, go along with it, and that's how you diffuse. That's how you keep the peace. And so because women are saying, I want to keep the peace, I don't want drama, well, what I'm going to do is make myself look dumb or make myself look this, and then I'm going to just be like, all right, well, let me put this in a way where he thinks he did it, and then congratulate him, because we're told y'all like to feel like y'all had all the answers and y'all came up with it. So what you do, baby, is just play it off and suggest it, and then when he says it, clap and be like, yay, good job, okay, well, let's do that. And that thing is it's said and it's programmed. You tell them what you told me about how men feel about that strategy.
Yeah, that's so dysfunctional. And
It is.
it creates distrust.
Yes, it does.
It creates distrust, because if I really know, because understand, I know you. If I'm in a relationship with you, I know your body language, I know your tones,
Yep.
I know your angles typically, right?
Yes.
So if I know that you're not being straight up with me, but I go along with it just so that we don't have the big cataclysmic argument,
Yes.
then oftentimes what happens is there starts to be, that's where withholding begins.
Yes.
So I stop really telling you the reality of my life, what
Yep.
really I need help in. It starts that slow journey of closing off my heart,
Yes.
because I want to be in a relationship with somebody that also wants to protect the relationship. So that means taking L's sometimes for the greater good,
For the greater
not just
good.
for the moment.
And here's what I think we don't realize, and the reason why I wanted to have this conversation about influence and authority is because one of the things sometimes I don't think we think about is we're put in these situations, in these relationships, and we're not really seeing the dynamic. We're not really seeing things as they are. We think we're doing the right thing, but we have this avoidance. Women, if we were to tell the truth, we operate a lot of time in passive aggressiveness, and it's because it's this, and again, I'm saying this overall because I coach, I mentor, and a lot of the things that I have seen are cycles, repeated cycles. And this passive aggressiveness says, I don't really know or want to be honest about what it is that I really want and what it is that I need. So I'm going to leave Blue's Clues and try to let you go sniff around and see if you can figure it out. And I'll stand in the corner and be like, cold, oh, cold, cold. What? Warmer,
Yes.
warmer, and hope you
Yes.
figure it out so that I don't have to appear vulnerable by really putting it out there what I really do. And so then it becomes this game. It becomes this dynamic that is so exhausting emotionally and mentally. And it's and then you wonder like why you haven't even created a culture of communication, because here it is that I want you to guess. No, I don't want you to guess. I don't want to guess.
I don't want to guess.
You literally have the capacity to articulate. And one of the moments we said in this movie that we loved was that at the end of the movie, because you know, usually the movies end with the man saying, I'm going to go after this one. You know, they run behind the trains and like, oh, stop. And she's like, he came for me but this woman said, you know what? I did not say what I needed to say then. So you know what? She boarded a plane. She flew to him. And this woman looked at this man and said, I didn't know how to say, I need you. I almost fell out my seat and just started. She just looked at this man. She said, like, I need you.
She said, I need you. And I'm like quiet like a church mouse in movies. When she said that, I said, my God. What?
Listen, I wanted to throw I was like, I'm sitting like this.
I need you.
Put herself.
I need you. What? My God. What? Hey, I went on my Instagram.
Listen, and she didn't wait for, well, I need you too. Like, she didn't sit there like, I need you.
Jeez.
Your
I went on my Instagram.
She was just like, I need you.
Hey, let me tell you something. She almost called me out of retirement. Look, she almost called me out. I need you. I was like, oh, where are you? Okay. Where are you? Like, I need you. Like, my God, like, it was so beautiful because I am on a mission to help even this conversation out. I believe relationships are mutual. You said something earlier. Look, if your favorite color is red, just because you wear red every day and you never told me that was your favorite color, you can't get mad if I bring you blue. I don't know that your favorite color is red because you never told me that was your favorite color. And so then I found myself always in trouble. And, then you hear all these messages about, well, you need to dwell with your wife according to knowledge. Yeah, well, educate me then.
Educate me.
If I'm supposed to dwell with you according to knowledge, this is not osmosis. I don't need to stay in the prayer room just to figure out whether you like French fries. Or I ain't got time for that. So, and then
we're not even including the fact that all of us have a different language. All of us not just have a different language. And the movie is The Photograph. It's out now. Y'all go see it. It's literally a beautiful movie. But not only that, but we all have different personalities. And it's like we're so busy standing our own ground saying, you figure it out. Because we're good for saying you couldn't tell by the way I said that. You couldn't tell that I had an attitude. And then y'all sitting there looking like, oh, that was an attitude. I feel like you act like that every day. I didn't know you.
Right.
Listen, I didn't know because I'm like that. I'm like, you gotta tell me or I won't know. And so that's this whole. And again, y'all, I hope y'all are enjoying us because I think we're going to have to do this again. Like, we literally legit got to come back on here and do a part 2 about these relationships. But I'm just grateful for the dialogue. The last thing that I want to say, because this is our time, y'all know I like to keep Mic Drop Monday to an hour. But y'all make sure y'all are liking pages and make sure y'all are following us because, we don't just bring the heat now. Like, this is all the time. We got the goods. But the last thing that I want to deal with before we leave tonight is one of the things that I think, and we talked about this, both parties involved, and even if we're talking about women and their sons and their children, one of the things that we try to avoid is this shutdown syndrome, right? The shutdown. Like that's that big thing that everybody want to avoid. So many women, I just don't want him to shut. When I try to tell him that he shut down, or the man, I was trying to say, and she shut down. And it's like, by avoiding the shutdown, we create the shutdown. So many people I just wanted to avoid the fight. I didn't even want his mess, so I just went along with it. Now we resentful. Or I just did it because I didn't want to hear her mouth. Now she got an attitude, like the shutdown. And so let's deal with, if we can just leave, some enlightenment and some empowerment, because we're talking about she told me to. We're talking about influence, and we're talking about how it impacts authority. And so we've been dropping these clues all night. So I know you've been hearing these themes we've been putting out there about agreement and about maturity. But let's just have this last conversation about avoiding. So women, so you talk about what men can do to avoid shutdown, and I'll talk about with women what we can do to avoid shutdown. And we're going to leave y'all with this equipment, and we hope it's blessing you guys. Listen again, before we leave y'all with this last huge nugget, go follow my friend, Bishop Antwain Jackson. He has an amazing new book coming out called The Creative Leader. So you want to stay in tune with him on IG. He's on Facebook. He's on LinkedIn. Follow him everywhere, because when he drop it, he has a YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it. Wait, no, I got a YouTube channel. Go subscribe to mine too. But I'm just saying, go subscribe. Y'all make sure that y'all liking and sharing, because this is what kingdom culture is about. It's about coming on here, having a united front, and one person not trying to outdo the other, outspeak the other, out vernacular the other, out Pentecost the other. You know how we do. We'll just find anything to outdo each other, right? So, but just creating this narrative. So really, if this blessed you guys, make sure if you did not share, don't sit here and get all all the goods and be like, oh, that was so good. Now hit the share button. Even if you got your 25 friends, listen, 5 of them, this would really benefit. So make sure you share, tell people, because we do this every Monday night. I'm here for Mic Drop Monday. And so we want to make sure we're doing this. So let's give them these our last announcements, what we're putting out there to say, how do we avoid, or is the shutdown avoidable? Let's have that last conversation.
Well, I'll say that one of the reasons why I found myself shutting down, just to share my story quickly, I'm a divorced man. I'm single now, was married for 11 years. I call it the better to marry than the burn marriage. You know, get married so you're not fornicating in the church marriage. You know how that goes in church. I was 19 years old and trying to live right, and so then married her at 21, and then my life began to shift and change, and the relationship dynamic really changed. You know what I'm saying? It ended in a failed marriage. So here I am now, 5 years, you know what I'm saying, 6 years now single, have been able to look back and observe that relationship. So when I say this is from now being on the healed side and observe the things that I did that weren't right, and the things that led to some of the things that I did. So I take, full responsibility for that. But I found that one of the reasons why I would shut down was because I wanted to protect. Now, what I was trying to protect was I felt like if the truth was spoken, then it would destroy our marriage.
Wow.
So one of the reasons why I would silence myself is because I was trying to protect her and protect the marriage, quote unquote, from the truth. Because I felt like if the truth was spoken, it wouldn't set us free, it would break us up. So I had to learn to outlive that lie. Like being able to be vulnerable and to speak the truth in your relationship is absolutely powerful. That impacted me in the movie last night. I think sometimes also processing, because it's not that I don't want to give you an answer right now, but I'm really just trying to process that I say it correctly.
Yep.
And that I'm in tune with what I'm saying to you, so that we can actually get over that hump. And so I think processing is one of the things, the 2 areas where I've seen men really shut down. Number 3, hurt. Oftentimes we don't believe that men are hurt, but there are things that have been said, slander that has been said, name calling that have caused men to regress. Because if I say something and you call me stupid, or you call my ideas stupid, or you take to social media and you talk about our relationship, then I'm trying to find a way to really process through the hurt that I'm feeling, and I don't want to lash out because I'm hurting as a man.
That's good.
Don't let the face or the consistency of going to work and all that stuff make you think that I'm not hurt. Words hurt. And if the wrong things are said, it can cause a man to really regress. So I'll just insert this. I think that one of the ways that you can actually get to a place of not shutting down is personal development.
Yes.
I wish I knew this.
Yes.
I wish
Lord.
I knew this. Okay, I wish I knew this then.
Yes.
That I didn't realize that because I wasn't working on myself, I was just being a good go-to-church Christian.
Come on, sir.
I didn't equip myself with what I needed, the information, the space, and the emotional outlet to actually find myself to be better in the relationship.
Yes.
I didn't have knowledge. I was not equipped with the things that I needed to make sure that I was good, that I was emotionally sound. And we didn't talk about stuff like going to personal counseling.
Come on.
We only talked about going to counseling if there was an argument.
Yep.
But not like just counseling just to make sure that you were good. I didn't know anything about maintenance. I just was told when y'all fought, pray. But I didn't know anything about maintaining the relationship. So personal development has become like gospel.
Yes.
Because I have found that if I don't invest in myself, I can only give with what I put in.
That's right. It's so powerful that you said that, because that's almost, and you said this at the beginning, men and women we're so much more alike than we think. And one of the things that I'm grateful to be able, and I saw somebody mention mentorship, and that's one of the things that one of the reasons why I have coaching and I have mentorship and I have these things available is because I want to give people what I didn't have for myself. And that's basically what you're saying. I see now in retrospect what I needed, because for women, we shut down for a lot of the same reasons. We shut down, but here's some additional things. We do shut down, like you said, to avoid saying the wrong thing. Sometimes though, we shut down because we're not quite sure how to articulate it. Some of us shut down because we're saying, I don't know how to say this because I'm being sensitive to you. Because like you said at the beginning, I know you. I know what you're dealing with. I know how you shut down. I'm trying. So how do I honor my emotions, but still be honest with you and honor my need to really be transparent because you want me to be honest? And so sometimes there's this conflict of interest. I don't want to hurt you, but sometimes I'm hurting me by trying not to hurt you, and I'm shutting down. And so we need to understand that there are better ways. Sometimes we shut down, and again, like I said, because we don't know how to have this conversation. And sometimes, like you said, we shut down because we're in overload and we got all this going on. Sometimes we're shutting down, and if we're honest about it, we're shutting down because we've already said this before. You didn't hear me the last 20 times I said it, so it feels like it doesn't make any point for me to say it again. So I'm shutting down because I start to say it and I'll be like, how many times I'm gonna say this? Never mind. And because we haven't dealt with the tactics, and you know, I said earlier that it's about your tone, it's about your timing, it's about your tact. It's all of these things that we have to be aware of. But sometimes we shut down because we're saying, look, now I feel as though you're not listening because I've said it before. And it's like on that fifth time that you were like, oh, that's what you meant? Oh, I ain't right that time. Like you caught me at the right time. You said it in the way that I could get it. And so it has everything to do with what we said in the beginning, is this place of agreement. It's us coming into this place where we really, and we said this earlier in our conversation, we really get to a place where we make our way back to vulnerability. And we can't do that until we're healed. We can't do that until we get to a place of wholeness. We can't do that until we have resolved some things that have happened in our lives, so that every time we smell a scent, we think it's the same menu. And it's like, no, he's not cooking that same pie. You smelt that and you assumed that's what was coming, but that was one ingredient in a whole new recipe. Well, I'm shutting down because I know we don't even understand that it wasn't the same thing. And so we've got to get to a place, hear me, y'all, if y'all don't hear anything else that we're saying, we got to get to the place where now that we know better, we've got to do better. Now that we've come to a place of enlightenment and understanding, then we've got to say, you know what? I was talking to somebody just yesterday, and they were having a bunch of issues, personal problems, and they wanted to overlook their problems and start talking about their girlfriend. Like, well, I just want to deal. And I said, wait a minute, sir. You know, first of all, let's deal with therapy. Let's recommend therapy. Well, as long as she comes, because therapy's not for her.
That's right.
The therapy is for you, because we need wholeness individually. And we're like, let's just go to marriage counseling, or let's just have family intervention. What about the things that I'm dealing with here that affect everything out there? So if you guys don't hear anything that we're saying, we're literally talking about interrupting these same cycles that keep us in these same things where we're shutting down, where we're not being vulnerable, where we're lashing out, where we're not coming together like this to have a conversation that really opens dialogue without people feeling defensive and ready to fight and ready to cry. And he said, she said, and they saying, think they better than me. But this is what the goal is. So give us some parting words. Thank you again for coming on, my friend, and blessing this platform with the knowledge and just with wisdom. I appreciate you so much. But give us some parting words before we get out of here tonight.
I'm finding that personal maturity is found in the fruit of the Spirit. Fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And the Bible says against such there is no law. Right? So that means you can practice those as much as you want to. You can drink too much water and get water poisoning.
Absolutely.
The scripture is saying you can practice the fruit of the Spirit so much and it will never affect you negatively. I'm finding that many people are trying to jump into relationships without doing the hard work on themselves.
Yeah.
And because they have not unpacked the trauma and the bags that they've had, not just in relationships, but just in life, they're bringing that into relationships. And oftentimes the relationship is being impacted by our own triggers to our own trauma that has nothing to do with the person that we're in relationship with. Or we're praying for God to send us somebody that does not trigger us, but will trigger us.
Yes.
Because we're saying, well, God, if you're going to send us somebody, send me somebody that, makes up the difference, where honestly, you have to do that for yourself.
Yes.
And so my encouragement is that the goal of relationships should be two whole people coming together to make each other better, not two broken people coming together to make each other whole.
Trying to make a whole. Absolutely.
You're both valuable people. You both have something to offer. And I think it would be great when two people have worked on themselves and have a regimen of personal development, a regimen of spirituality that they bring together into a mission of a relationship that they stay focused on. I believe that's really going to change the world.
And you said the magic word, because that's what I was going to end with. Regimen. That means that it keeps going. That means that you're not going to get it the first time or the second time. We've been married and divorced, And so again, going into it saying there's always a place where I can strive to. There's always a place where I can, being teachable is what I want to leave. Is saying that I'm not going to get out here like, oh baby, I've been married this amount of time, or a child I done dealt with me and it ain't hitting on nothing, or this is, oh well, this is what I'm doing. And being in a place where you're saying I'm teachable, I'm able to be mentored, I'm able to be coached, I'm able to open my heart for healing and development and some realization and some self-actualization, because there might be some things that I need to continue to work on. And if you become your greatest project, then everything around you will be progressive. Everything about you will be in the light of perfecting. And so that's how we have to get to the place where we say, you know what? My greatest investment has everything to do with my wholeness. My greatest investment in my children, my spouse or future spouse, my church, to Jesus is my wholeness. I always tell people Jesus spent more time saying, will you be made whole than he did, will you get saved and catch these tongues? He wanted to know, will you receive wholeness? Wholeness means what piece are you lacking, so that I can give you that, so that you can operate in wholeness. And so my if we're leaving anything, it's that you be made whole in whatever area that is. And so thank you again. Thank you guys that came on and watched. We appreciate you guys for joining us. This has been another epic episode of Mic Drop Monday. I'm Dr. Elisa LaShell. This is my friend, Bishop Antwain Jackson. Again, stay connected with all of us. Those of you guys that are new, that we've just seen for the first time tonight, thank you guys so much. Stay connected. If this was a blessing, can you tell somebody? Let somebody know. Let us know. Share it. Post it. Tag it. Listen, we love sharing. Y'all tag us and post. Believe me, you go on Instagram, I can promise you'll be on my timeline. So if it was a blessing, let us know. If you saw a nugget that blessed your life, let us know. We'd appreciate it. Until next time, I am Dr. Elisa LaShell Harney. This was another episode of Mic Drop Monday. Thank you guys and good night.